Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a recent chapter in US-Cuba relations, one that's really defined by a single, powerful, and pretty controversial phrase: a boot on the head. So the source we're looking at today kicks things off with this one incredibly dramatic sentence, and it does that for a reason. It immediately frames the situation in Cuba not just as a problem, but as a full-blown, urgent crisis. And that's absolutely key to understanding the policy that comes next. And that brings us right to our central question. What does this metaphor actually mean when we're talking about foreign policy? Before we can get into the goals and the effects, we've got to first understand the term itself. It's a really visceral image, isn't it? So let's unpack it. What did the source say this boot on the head strategy actually looked like? Okay, so here's the core definition we're working with. The source argues this wasn't just a series of random actions, but a very deliberate strategy of maximum pressure. It was a complete 180 from the previous administration's policy, and it was designed with one clear goal in mind: to force political change inside Cuba. So what did this boot actually look like in practice? Let's get into the specifics, the actual actions and policies that, according to the source, made up this whole maximum pressure campaign. And wow, when you see it laid out like this, the contrast is just, it couldn't be clearer. The Obama-era policy was all about opening things up, right? Reestablishing the embassy, easing travel, encouraging engagement. Then you see this hard pivot in the complete opposite direction: slashing embassy staff, hitting Cuba with brand new sanctions, and slamming the door on travel again. It was a really fundamental shift in philosophy. Now, the source breaks this strategy down into these four key pillars. You can think of them as four different levers of pressure. Restricting remittances, that directly hits the flow of money to Cuban families. Sanctioning industries like tourism, that goes right for the government's main sources of revenue. Activating Title III of the Helms-Burton Act, that was a big deal. It opened the door for a flood of lawsuits against companies, which really scared off foreign investment. And finally, reducing embassy staff, which limited diplomatic contact. It was a serious, multi-pronged approach. So, with all these policies in place, what was the reported result on the ground? Let's take a look at how the source describes the impact on Cuba's economy. This will bring us right back to that initial drowning metaphor. Sometimes the easiest way to understand the economic impact is just to look at the numbers. And the source points to a huge one: a reported drop of up to 60% in foreign investment. Now, for a country that's so heavily reliant on outside capital, a drop that steep is a massive blow. It affects everything from their ability to import basic goods to just maintaining infrastructure. But that 60% drop, it isn't just an abstract number on a page. The source connects it directly to the daily lives of Cubans, with quotes just like this one. It really captures the reported reality of the shortages and, well, it puts a very human face on what these policy impacts can feel like. According to the source, this pressure created something of a domino effect. A decline in tourism meant less foreign currency coming in. That contributed to fuel shortages, which then messed up transportation, and that ultimately led to scarcity of all sorts of goods, including really vital medical supplies. It was like a chain reaction rippling through the economy. Okay, so where does all this leave us? Let's pull everything together and consider the key takeaways from the source's analysis of this policy's legacy. So if you're going to boil it all down, here's the crucial point. The source frames the boot on the head strategy not as some minor tweak, but as a deliberate and really sharp policy reversal. It used that multifaceted campaign of sanctions and restrictions with a clear goal of forcing political change. And, most importantly, the source draws a direct line from those policies to the severe economic hardship and shortages felt on the island. And we'll end with this provocative thought, which really gets to the very heart of the debate. The source presents a case where a foreign policy strategy, one that's aimed squarely at a government, had these profound knock-on effects on its people. It leaves us all with a pretty critical question to consider. In the pursuit of these big geopolitical goals, where exactly do we draw the line between effective political pressure and an unacceptable human cost?